Welcome to the Spiritual Hustler Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Zweig, multi-seven-figure serial entrepreneur, best-selling author, and branding and business coach. And this is a show where we are redefining the word hustle, reclaiming our true feminine nature of magnetism, and putting down the self-judgments and shame around loving to work and making a lot of money at it. On this show, you're going to learn how to stop hustling and start spiritually hustling. By pressing play, you are now part of a new movement of women who don't hustle for money. We hustle for meaning. We don't hustle from lack. We hustle for love. We don't hustle from survival. We hustle for humanity's thriving. We hustle toward healing the ancestral programming of fear and step into a new understanding of safety in the body to receive. This shift isn't going to only heal your life, it's going to make you a whole lot richer too. This is the Spiritual Hustler Podcast. Well, hello, my beautiful spiritual hustlers, and welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited that you found yourself here. I am so excited to be with you here and have this conversation that I'm about to have with y'all today, because this has been on my heart and in my soul for the last couple of months. And it was just high time I sat myself down and channeled what I'm about to transmit to all of you today. So if you found yourself here, please know that it's not an accident. I'm sure that the title of this episode piqued your curiosity, but nonetheless, I want to just thank you for finding the show. The Spiritual Hustler has become a movement, a conversation across the world. So many women from every single continent dial in. I really feel you all in the ether. I say this all the time. And I know that if you found yourself here and you keep coming back, you are of the light. You are a woman here on a unique mission with her own unique codes, with her own beautifully open and available, remembered consciousness, here to build a business, make an impact, make money, serve the world, serve her community in a way that is deeply devoted to the feminine path, which is really the path of the heart, the path of love, the path of being of service. And when we build businesses from that vibration, they're infinitely more in alignment. They're infinitely more successful. They are infinitely more impactful. And that is really what I think we're all born here for, is to leave a legacy of more love, more harmony, more unity, more peace, more abundance behind us for the future generations to inherit. I really believe that's the game that we're here to play. And we all get to, wear cute outfits and post on Instagram and make some really great money along the way when we're here in this modern time. I really think it's such an exciting and an important time and fun time to be alive. And I hope that this show is your constant reminder of all of the above. And that if you found yourself here on this particular episode, every Thursday, I break down a tiny little key off of my cosmic key chain, inspired by a tattoo of a key that I have on my heart. When I got this tattoo, my whole timeline changed, but that's another story for another podcast. And we talk about all things business. We talk about all things branding, leadership, how to scale, how to build a platform, how to build a team, and all of the spiritual work that is required of us if we want to live a big life, if we want to make a big impact and be in alignment. Our businesses will only grow to the extent of which we grow. As above, so below. So the pursuit of knowing your own soul's evolution, your own identity, your own blueprint, understanding how to heal not only trauma from this life, but from past lives through all of the different modalities and magic that we have at our fingertips today. Those are the guests that I bring on as my expert friends who come in and share with you their codes when it comes to business and spirituality. That's what this whole show is really blending. And I'm so grateful to be having this conversation with the women like you who are here to receive it. Every Thursday, however, I bring out this key, and it's going to be whatever's on my heart that week, pun intended. And I have really been sitting with this episode, and I have so much to say about Michael Jackson. And before I get into why this has led me here, like what has happened at least in my own personal life and my own heart and my own self-awareness over the last few months, I want to kind of give the full foundational context of why I felt this was an important topic. We're here on this planet, if you're listening to this podcast, as women building businesses, that's the hustle, doing our deep inner work, that's the spiritual. And if we are in alignment, embodied, fully trusting our own voices, our own authority, our own gifts, our own talents, and putting that out into the world to be seen with full confidence, and really the word is embodiment, we're going to trigger people. I really don't consider myself a business coach. Sidebar. I consider myself an activator who uses business as a path to self-realization. That is what I do. I am very, very clear on that. And I think if you're really embodied, you are an activator too. Whatever path, whatever modality, whatever business, whatever you're selling, you're an activator. And there's a really good side to that. And there's a really not so fun side to that. Is you're going to activate the people that are of your frequency, that see themselves in you, that are in alignment, that speak your language, that want to be a part of what you're creating because they're creating it too in their own right. And then you're going to activate people's shadows and projections and judgments and anger and vitriol and at times people's attempt to take you down. And I really want this episode today to be one big, not only invitation, but serious hug through the ether that you are not alone and that you have all of the permission in the world, that you are safe no matter what, to put yourself out there as the activator that you are, because the world needs your magic. The world needs your unique music. So I went and saw the Michael movie a couple months ago with my husband. I was like, just let's go on a date night. We have a really fun, cute movie theater right down the street from us. We hadn't seen one in a while. I was like, just thinking I was going to go see a film with my husband is my point. And I watched that movie and something happened to me. Like, we've been seeing Michael Jackson in the ether. Like, he has definitely come back. He's in the zeitgeist right now. At least he is on my explore page on Instagram. And seeing all of that based on my own personal experience, I understand why. There was something about that movie. And yes, it was a biopic. And yes, it was for entertainment. Yes, it only told like the highlights of his story. But there was something about that storyline, which is the truth. Much of it is, obviously, and his music activated something inside of my consciousness and my cells and my heart that I just couldn't put down. So within the following days after that movie, I just felt this huge call to listen to Michael Jackson's music. And I'm going to be blunt with you. This whole podcast, I'm blunt, I'm honest, withhold or gatekeep much at all. I actually believed Michael Jackson was guilty. I saw that movie in 2019, Leaving Neverland, and I wrote him off. I was like, I can't listen to his music anymore. I was complicit in conscious bias and susceptibility of the programming of the media that he was a bad guy. So I see the movie, it activates something in me. His music is undeniable. I start listening to it all day, every day. All of his albums, front to back, from getting ready in the morning to while I was working, doing deep work at my computer, to listening to it in my car, listening to it on my walks. Something about that movie was just this massive opening, and I couldn't get enough. And as I was listening to his music, I felt that activation increase, my heart starting to open, my cells starting to shift. I know this is going to sound extreme. Like, I felt like my DNA was coming online. Okay. Something was happening to me. This is a fun fact about my personality, just in case you didn't know. I'm an information junkie. I really like to deep dive, research. I always have. And so I'm like, I want to learn more now about his life. Now that I saw the movie, I've gotten his music into my body. Give me more Michael Jackson. So I started listening to podcasts about him. And I found this podcast that I'm going to leave a link here in my show notes for you to go listen to if you so choose. It was pretty deep down on the podcast, interwebs, but not really. This woman, I think, produced this podcast in like 23, 24. And it's called Michael Jackson, The Case for Innocence. And it's a show that is co-hosted by a woman Her name is Cheryl, and her daughter. And her daughter apparently was about 10 years old. This was a few years before she decided to do this podcast, and became an obsessive Michael Jackson fan at 10 years old. And she was getting bullied at school, and she was being told by the teachers, you can't listen to that. And her own mother was like, I don't think it's okay for you to listen to Michael Jackson. I want to protect you, and it's not good for you. And her daughter, this 10-year-old girl, was like, no, Mom, I believe that he is innocent. And I need you to help me as my mom. Will you at least look into this for me? Before you tell me to stop listening to his music, will you at least research and tell me what you find so that we are both sure? Okay. This little cosmic rainbow child starbeam was like, hey, Mom, I'm more awake than you. And so this woman, Cheryl, did what her daughter asked and went on a meticulous deep dive research excavation of the last 30 years since 1993 of Michael Jackson's first accusation all the way up until now. And the amount of documentation, court filings, transcripts, interviews, police reports, I could go on. This woman left no stone unturned. I couldn't believe the amount of research this woman had done. And the point is, she went into this excavation with the assumption he was guilty, looking for proof that he was guilty, to then be able to turn to her daughter and say, all right, I did what you asked of me, and I need to tell you to stop listening to his music because of what she thought she was going to find. And instead she found the opposite. And I obviously am like nerding out right now about this podcast, and I listened to every single episode. I went down the rabbit hole, freaking 25 episodes, binged it in like a week, and something unlocked in me. And when I was done listening, the first thing that I did, and this wasn't a thing that I did, this was an ever evolving, unraveling process as I was listening, was looking in the mirror at my own susceptibility to the Matrix and how I really had gotten this one wrong. And I just think that if you really take the time to do your own true research and don't listen to what everyone else says about anything, and I'm not putting this exclusively on Michael Jackson, about anything, sister, that hive mind, mass media, the majority, the collective is thinking, saying, believing, and doing. Where is your own sovereignty? How often do you check yourself, pause, and get all of the right information before making a judgment? Now, the truth of the matter is most of us don't do that. Obviously, we're really, really susceptible, and it's worse than ever with social media. And I could go deep into why I think that Michael Jackson was honestly a star beam, a light beam, a fractal of Christ consciousness that had come here to humanity through the power of music, and why he was sort of forever an innocent child that never really knew how to be of this world, which is why I believe he found so much safety with children, because he was a child in many ways. And that was what made him beautiful and so talented and creative. And also people that young didn't want anything from him. He was surrounded by what I call hungry ghosts of people who wanted his money and sucked and hooked into his light because they were so unhealed. And I will say, frankly, that I believe he was one of the highest dimensional beings that ever came down onto this planet in centuries, if not millennia. And because his frequency was so high and he was so massive, like the biggest, the world, in response to that, had to pin the most horrific atrocity of them all onto him. We can think of all of the atrocities in the world, and there are many, but I believe that child abuse is by far and away the darkest darkest thing on this planet. And we witnessed the most extreme case of duality and polarity in the modern media than we ever have in our lifetimes. I believe it was a modern day crucifixion. And I'll say that right here, what we witnessed. And he is being resurrected now into the current consciousness, into the field, into the zeitgeist for a reason. And this is what leads me to the second thing I wanted to share with you. I really will say, and I'm like sitting here with my own tiny little corner of the internet, like people, my mom is like, I run into people who know you in Highland Park where I'm from. Like, people know who you are. No, they don't. No, they don't. I'm just out here doing my thing. I will say I have had a history, despite me just out here doing my thing, sharing my heart, living my light, that I have had a wild history of activating women, triggering women simply for breathing, simply for existing. I really do understand the pain of being misjudged and being misinterpreted and having people's shadow and delusion thrown at you in the form of character attacks. It's happened to me one too many times. And it in fact happened to me often. Some extreme experiences of that happened in the last 2 months while I was downloading all of these Michael Jackson codes. And I really want to use this episode, not about me, not about Michael Jackson, but about you. Because like I said at the beginning of this episode, if you are here, you are a woman of the light. You have a frequency that is above and beyond the matrix's consciousness, that is rooted in fear. And fear manifests itself not just in being afraid, but fear has many flavors. And it often comes in the form of comparison and competition and jealousy and scarcity. And when you are a woman of the light, you become a mirror that people do not consent to look into because you're so bright and you're so visible. And the only way that people can cope with that reflection back to them is to project all of their unhealed stuff onto you and to make you wrong for being who you are in the world. And I'm here to tell you that that has nothing to do with you, and it should never, ever be a reason why you stop shining. It is your affirmation, actually, that your frequency belongs in the world to be held and to be seen by the right women and the right audiences and the right clients and the right people and the right friends and the right circles and the right rooms. And that if you are getting hate, shade, judgment, trolls, rejection, people leaving your lives because, I don't know, you're too much or you have changed or you've evolved, take that as your confirmation that you are actually doing what you came here to do, which is to live your life according to your own magic, your own gifts, your own talent, your own truth. That is what it means to be a woman who is embodied. She doesn't even need confidence because she's so fucking embodied. She is so whole within herself that other people's opinions do not matter to her because the only one that does is her own. And granted, I would never want to trade places with anyone famous. I really love my anonymity. I love my privacy. I love my own little corner of the internet. I really do. But we still need to be seen. And we're living in a world today where you don't need to be famous. You don't need to be a celebrity. You don't need to have 1 million followers. You don't need to have hundreds of thousands of followers anymore to make a massive ripple effect in the ether. I saw a friend of mine on social media talking about this, and she said, 1 inch wide and an ocean deep. That is really, I believe, where the future of female entrepreneurship is going, where we all are creating our own little worlds, our own corners of the internet, our own tiny pebbles in a pond with a great ripple effect. That's one of the core values and core codes of my company, Jessica Zweig Inc. It is a pebble in a pond, not a boulder, not a freaking pop star into the ocean, a pebble in a pond. Your message is needed. And when we really, truly trust that, we trust what I just said, that we are fucking needed in the world to shine, you're going to activate people for better or for worse. Maybe this episode activated you. Maybe you don't agree with me. I'm taking a risk and even publishing this episode. I know that, which is crazy to me because we're all allowed to have our own perspectives and opinions and agree to disagree, but I digress. This is not anything to do with whether or not you saw that Michael movie or went down as deep as I did, although I welcome you to listen to that podcast. Shout out to that mother and daughter for educating anyone that would really take the time to truly listen. I want to thank you for listening to me today, but really, truly, the ask is to start listening to yourself more than you ever have, and to know that if you're going to play big, and whatever version of big looks like to you, there's going to be polarity in the field. And your job, sister, please hear me when I say this, is to just keep singing your own song. This is the year of the fire horse. This is the year we become gorgeously unbothered, where we blaze our own path and craft our own beautiful, beautiful lanes and create our own beautiful lanes and stand on our own unique stages. Because I guarantee, I know this in my soul, if you are here listening to my podcast, the reason why you are doing what you're doing is to create a better world, full stop. So go out and do that, sister. And just know that being an activator is not just part of the assignment. It's the whole fucking assignment. And most of all, know that you are not alone in following that. Thank you for seeing me. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Spiritual Hustler Podcast.